Well, here we are with a new season of Chamber Chatter from the Everett Chamber of Commerce. And it's great to be back on board, right, Carol?
It is.
And I am Rosemary Hughes and the co-host, Carol Churchill. And as you know, we do these shows together, periodically introducing businesses and new businesses that come into the city. Very exciting now. We're very happy to start off this season with, as I said, a very exciting concept that has come into Everett. And I have two gentlemen here who you are going to be so delighted with when they give their presentations and tell you what they're all about. And Carol, you can introduce them.
I'd be delighted. From Now Business Intelligence, we have Matt Nowosiadly and Joe Warrino.
Good morning.
And I think this is the first time we've had a technology company, isn't it, Rosemary?
It is. It is.
Excellent. Oh, that's great.
And I think it's almost a new, on this scale, it's a very new concept in this city.
Yep.
That's why I think it's so exciting
Great.
to be here. And you might want to tell us a little bit about how you came to Everett.
Sure.
Yeah, it was quite a process actually. In a traditional company, I think the owner would have said, "Hey, it's close to my house. Let's put it there." Instead, we used the same methodology that we used to figure out our software, and it's called planning poker or agile development. And the planning poker helps prioritize in software a bunch of features and what order to do them in, how hard it is, what's the benefit of each feature. Well, we did that same thing with the entire company around locations.
Oh.
And Everett won. So it was actually a very impartial voting. So Everett won on its merits and all of its pluses, not because it was less expensive or because
You lived here.
I lived here.
Yeah.
It actually was the best place for our company to be located. It's close to the city. It's serendipitously, the city was incredible to work with, which made it very easy as well. But
That's what I was going to ask you. Some other businesses have said that as well, that the mayor's office and the city, the city employees were very welcoming to your business.
Yes.
Did you find that same experience?
Oh, it was unbelievable. And I had another business, which it was a tourism business, a helicopter tour company, in a city adjacent to here, that it was just a nightmare. And that's one of the reasons we closed it. It just wasn't worth all the red tape to keep it running. It was a very, very low margin business, and it wasn't worth the effort. And it was very refreshing to come here and see open arms, welcoming business. The parking's great. The permitting was a piece of cake. It was really great.
Well, this is why I felt it was great that you're here because, as you know, and I guess I say this out of prejudice too, I've lived in Everett all my life, but our city is on the move. And it's on a roll, as you know.
Absolutely.
And there's so much coming into the city now. And fortunately, you are some of the groundbreakers in here as far
Absolutely.
as starting the ball rolling.
It's a hidden gem, really.
It is, yeah, it is. Don't you think?
So what exactly do you do here? I know that, in the computer age, you can do just about everything from your cell phone. You don't need a huge infrastructure or anything, but
Right.
you need some laptops and that's about it. But what exactly do you do? What are some of your clients? Just tell us a little bit about that.
From a client perspective, we started we grew up in the Department of Defense space.
Okay.
That's how we got found, and that's where where Matt formed the business from. We've now ventured into financial institutions as well as some healthcare, renewable energy.
Education.
Education has been real nice for us because that's something we like to give back on, hence our involvement at Everett High School. But we are, it's a custom software solution. We're a technology company that likes to make software do what it's supposed to do. Everybody advertises our software does this, and then you get it out of the box and it doesn't really do that. We'll make it work 100% of the way. Or if there's nothing out of the box, we'll create it for you. And that's where we'd come from.
Sorry, that's one of the interesting things. I was reading a press release on you, which they did a great job talking about in your business in the local paper. And it said you're not just a consulting company. You don't want to be known as a consulting company, but as you also solve problems besides doing the consulting.
Right, yeah.
And you help the companies.
Completely. I mean, I grew up in 20 years in consulting in big firms, and it was very frustrating. They didn't pay the employees enough, They charged the client exorbitant amounts of money, and then what they delivered because of that ratio was subpar. And it was always, to me, so simple. Why don't we just deliver the result and stop all this throwing all these people that don't need to be in here for billable hours in? And I vowed to do that when I spun the company out. I finally got frustrated enough. And it's an iron triangle, basically, where it's happy customer, happy employee, and then happy MBI, and it's in that order. It's more of a moral compass vow that I vow to not become rich or wealthy at anyone's expense, whether that's an employee or a customer. Everyone should get the result according to the effort they put in, and that's sort of the founding principle of our company.
So unlike a lot of consultants, with all due respect for consultants, you don't come in and just make recommendations for solutions. You actually implement the solutions. You actually recommend the software, you put it in place, you get the kinks out, that type of thing?
We solved the entire problem. I mean, one thing we did for the VA hospitals, we revolutionized how they track assets. I'll be as brief as possible. So rather than a clipboard with 50 guys running around and tracking even these lamps or that router up there would be tracked in a DoD facility or in a VA hospital. And then they have preventive maintenance and all these things that are associated with it. It took immense man hours to track it all. Well, we wrote a system that they use RFIDs. They can just walk in the room and they know everything that's in there. It goes to the DoD's database. They know if it needs preventive maintenance, and they can even locate it up in the ceiling by going beep, 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 you can find it. And they were having trouble keeping track when they went up a ladder or whatever of all the RFID tags, and we realized, well, if we gave them a portable printer, they would be able to do it. Well, the customer's like, no portable printers are high enough resolution, etc., and they don't hold enough labels. So Chris, who's down there, one of our engineers, and myself, we went and looked, and we realized we could take a portable printer, write our own drivers, and make it be high enough resolution, so we solved that problem. Then we went to our makerspace. Some of that equipment will eventually be here, and we milled out of aluminum a bracket to hold more labels, and we solved the entire problem. It saved them, probably $150,000 in software coding in a workflow they wanted to do, just by doing the whole thing. We wrote the driver. The Zebra company wants to know how we did it, actually, the people who make the printer. And we'll tell them eventually. And then we also made the bracket. So we go the whole way. If we, it doesn't mean I'm going to go machine things for every customer, but if we can, we will. If we can't, we're going to find somebody who can and solve. When we leave, the problem is solved. It's not, here's the suggestions to solve it after they spent their whole budget. And it's usually solved early and for less than we expected. We're usually ahead of schedule, under budget, because of our agile Scrum process.
Yeah, we like to do a lot of work up front with our customers, just to get them and make sure they're engaged and we fully understand 100% of what they're looking for. And the end result is more effort with them up front. And as the progress happens, they're less involved and they're just using the results. We deliver every couple of weeks an iterative piece so they can test it, and they know right away whether or not they need to add the next step, or hey, you know what, this is enough, thank you. So it's much easier. It's a lot of interaction though.
So, yeah, in the old days, you'd get a bunch of requirements up front, then you'd go write it for 6 months, a year, or whatever, how long the project is. Then you say, here it is, users. And now they're like, oh, I have to do my job in 2 places. We've all been through those, right? Well, the day of reckoning for software development's coming, and we're part of it. And we can deliver. We will walk you through the process of developing the software. And like he said, every 2 weeks you're going to touch it and use it, or at least a small subset of your users will, and use it in real life and give feedback to us as to whether we're on track or not. Because even most of the time the customer doesn't know what they don't know, and they think they need this big, huge, expensive feature, and as they use it, they find out this other thing we wrote is more than fast enough, and they don't need that feature anymore, and they can roll that money either back into their pocket or into something else that would have been a nice to have. And there's no other way to develop software. It's called Agile Scrum, or Agile methodology. Many people preach that they do it. It's a big buzzword. We're an agile house. We actually are. you have no choice but to be agile with us. If you force a waterfall project on us, which is the other method, we may reluctantly take it if we think we can make a difference, but there'd be a big discussion before we did.
But working with you, as you're working with these businesses, I think it's great because they still have their own input, and it's
Absolutely.
their branding is, maybe I'm using the wrong word when I say branding, but their mark is also on this. So as you work with them, they will tell you what they're interested in, and you work with them on what they're
Completely. We weave right through with them in lockstep. They control the throttle is what I like to call
Yeah.
it. How fast they want to go, how slow they want to go, what goes in, what doesn't go in. The priority is reset every 2 weeks. They can reset
That's
what
great.
things we were going to
Yeah.
work on.
Yeah.
The only rule is if we already started that feature, you can't pull it out, because we already
Right.
worked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and we like to start with them by sitting in on their business processes and just understanding how their current workflow is and what the desired goal is at the end, and work with them using the technology to get there in the most streamlined fashion.
We always say a fool with a tool is still a fool. So, and what we mean by that is not to be negative.
Yeah.
What we mean by that is
Right.
everyone thinks they're going to buy a piece of software and magically their business processes are going to work better. But if your business processes are not efficient or not working properly, all you're going to do with a piece of software is actually amplify it. So like I said, we're more holistic in bringing results. We'll fix the business process first and talk about that before we even start putting any fingers on keyboards to code. I'm a process engineer. All my senior developers or senior software engineers are also process engineers. So we can look at a business and say, have you considered this? And it's actually happened where we fixed their process and they didn't need any software. They just needed to kind of
Just an outside set of eyes to look at it.
Do you work with small businesses as well as large? I mean, there's
Yeah.
no.
So
no
our
criteria.
largest client touts that they're the third largest employer in the world, very large financial institution. And our smallest client, we've got 3 one-man operations or one-person operations that are strictly web presence. They don't have brick and mortar. And we work the gamut in between. I think our ideal is somebody who's probably got 100 to 500 employees. That's more the fun space. I think the smaller
Yeah.
the business, the more fun we get to have with it. The task I'm most challenged with by my scientists is find us a fun job. That's what they want,
Yeah.
To go in and write the missile guidance system is fun. Well, that's no, you don't find
Yeah,
those
I
every
know what
day.
you're saying, yeah.
And when we do a fair amount of work with SharePoint and a lot of custom app and migration work with SharePoint, and that's day-to-day work. They enjoy it, but it's not fun. When I get them to be able to write a custom solution using SharePoint, that's really when they say, "Hey, that was fun, thank you."
So nobody's intimidated if they're a small business to say,
No.
well, they work
Well, I
with just
hope
big
not.
stuff.
No, I hope not.
I
I mean,
hope not.
part of that day of reckoning I was talking about, custom software used to be really expensive. People were scared it couldn't be supported. It's not true anymore. It's very inexpensive if you use a company like us to write custom software. And on top of that, the ROI is usually so quick. You realize it so quickly that you could throw it away in 6 months. It used to be a lot of the larger companies wouldn't use us because they're like, what if you're not here in 10 years or 6 years? It's like you're gonna make your money back and then some in 6 months. Throw it away. But we will be here. But go
Yeah,
ahead. The
right.
worry is gone now. And speaking of our talent, the way we can do all this, what keeps me up at night is Joe hinted to is keeping we have some of the best computer scientists probably in the world working for us, and we don't pay the most, we don't pay the least, right? We pay enough to keep money off the table, but what keeps me up at night, and they don't necessarily, once money's off the table, they're not worried about that anymore, but they're worried about what are my projects, and it's very hard to keep. I mean, these people have 100, some of my team have 180 plus IQ, 160 IQs. You have to keep them challenged. So whether it's a one-man show or a 32,000 employee company, sometimes the one-man show has this super challenging mathematical algorithm that has to be figured out, and our guys will be all over it. And it's more about that. It's more about the challenge of the problem than it is really about the money or what rate we charge.
So there's probably a lot of high school students out there perhaps watching and wondering, what kind of skills do you need to work here? You mentioned that you employ a lot of project engineers.
Yep.
What exactly is that? What skill sets? What do you
Yep.
need to be interested in? What kind of employee really finds a home here?
The main skill set would be heavy mathematics
Okay.
with computer science. So computer science is just mathematicians that traded in their blackboard for a computer, right? And
Yeah.
people forget that. There's a lot of people toting that they're a computer scientist. Yeah, you know Visual Studio or some of the other things where you can write an app, but can you write an app in such a way that it doesn't eat up all the storage, all the memory, and 32,000 simultaneous or 32 million simultaneous people can be using it? That's where a computer scientist differs from just someone who can code. And we hire computer scientists.
They have
So
to be
you need the
problem
efficiency-
solvers too. If they're
efficiency
not-
aspect.
Yeah,
They've
that's-
got to be good problem solvers. One of my guys tells me, "Look, Joe, we're minimalist. We write a minimal amount of code that can be scalable, defendable. It's got to be secure, because that's all they're looking for. They're looking to make sure that we're not consuming all the space on the hard drives, so that with our applications, so you actually have more space, more speed." So we're looking for people who can solve problems and think outside of the box.
Who love to solve problems.
Yeah, hobbies are important to us.
Yeah, and most of our staff, myself included, go home and do this for fun on our own, because we have our own projects.
Yeah.
Whether I'm writing G code for the makerspace, robots to work, or they're going home and trying to figure out some Haskell mathematical problem with a computer language called Haskell. We're all doing it when we get home. So you've got to really have a passion for problem solving and coding, and preferably mathematics, to really fit in here. We do have some.
There's one exception.
Yeah.
That's me. I'm not that smart.
He's really.
Don't put yourself
What
down.
is your background? Are you
I'm a financial guy.
Okay.
He's also our CFO, so he does.
So they need you.
We do. Scientists like to just spend the money on R&D. So
and you keep them in check.
He does.
Yeah. It's a good
I've
match.
been in accounting up until the last 2 years, where I engaged with Matt to become more on the sales side as well, business development side. But I still maintain the books and interface with the lawyers, the accountants, especially the tax guys. But any of the official administrative work is mine.
Motivating smart people is extremely challenging. It's really all about autonomy and giving a lot of rope and being comfortable with that. We have a very flat organization, although we have titles. If I'm on a project with someone else who's the project lead, I'm on that project, they're the lead. It doesn't matter if I own the company or not.
Yeah.
And not everybody, especially in our age group, can handle that. And to have a company be this agile, this nimble, and retain this talent, it's mandatory. And Joe being, what you'd say the stereotypical financial guy,
from a public company CFO.
He got it relatively quickly, and it works. Like when he's in here on a project or managing one of his own, he doesn't come in. If you came in as a cubicle manager from a normal big corporate America, you'd be eaten alive in this place. And Joe fit right in, and everybody loved him. So
It took 3 months, but it was a hard struggle.
3 months.
I didn't understand
Most
it.
people don't.
No, I
Most
just
people don't
didn't
make
get
it out the gauntlet. He made it out the other side.
Yeah.
And we do need that financial check and balance, which he somehow delivers within that crazy framework I just described. So it's a good fit.
And it's a really interesting building, don't you think, Rosemary?
I was just thinking that while you were talking too, because I'm looking down here, and it's amazing coming into the place. All the whiteboards.
Yep.
All the walls are
I love it.
whiteboards.
I love
Yes.
it. Yeah.
And there's a
And they're all,
shower,
if
there's
you
a
notice, they're all
kitchen.
used. There's something
Yes,
on
they
it.
They're all
Being
used.
written
Yeah.
everywhere.
And then just this whole work area down here is wonderful, and it gives
Yeah.
everybody their own space. They're not on top of each other. They
And you
just
can roll
sort
We
of-
everything
set it up in
Really big
pods,
windows.
really,
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
tend to work in groups of 3 or 4. The pod is their term, not mine.
Yeah.
And we actually have other desks that we'll fix up. We'll put out when, like we've got a couple more projects that we eventually are going to have to start putting. We could have 30 people sitting in this office, But typically our clients want us on site. So that's why it's, as much as we've got 28 people working right now, full-time for us, as well as our staffing firm. I don't include them in that number. They're contractors because we do offer that service to companies. If they need, just give me a project manager or a software developer, we offer that. We don't give away our employees for that.
We'll lend them.
Yeah, we'll lend. We'll lend. We take but anyone we submit out goes through the same rigorous process that we put our guys through, that we hire on a permanent basis.
So in a nutshell, our staffing quality, which we need for ourselves because our projects ebb and flow. We might get a big project for the state and it's maybe 8 months long. Well, we don't need 15 people to become full-time employees. So we'll staff up for that. And rather than pay some non-Everett national staffing firm, we decided why don't we just become the staffing firm as well. That way we can maintain the quality of the engineers we get and the project managers, etc. But now when we said we can also sell that, sometimes people just need a shooter for a year or 6 months or 4 months. So we use our same vetting procedure, which it's nearly impossible to become an employee, at least rapidly here. It takes probably, with negative unemployment for an engineer, and it takes 6 months to become an employee here. So you can imagine how picky we are in a place where there's jobs for every one of them. So they have to want to work here and we have to want them. We use that same criteria for the people we staff in our staffing agency as well.
Yeah.
Oh, so you could have the contractors that would work on a project basis, and then you have a staff of employees who are permanently assigned to.
Correct, and they would be our shooters. And we're
that's
very
what you,
picky
okay,
about it, yeah.
all right.
And it'll ebb and flow. If you came in here a year ago, it was full of people because we were doing an actual coding a job that we were going to deliver as software. Many other times we're coding a job, but we either because their network is secure and it's not worth remoting in, or we need to be there to see the iterations. We'll have the people deployed, and that's kind of the phase we're in now. So, now there's a handful of people in here, but out of the 28 employees, most of them are actually on site or working remotely from their homes. They don't need to drive in here. But we get one big software development job, and there'll be 15, 20 people.
Yeah, they
in
have
here.
to be collaborative in the beginning until they understand where they're headed and the interactions with the clients. And then after that, they're collaborative via Slack or GitHub, one of the virtual sites that they go on to and communicate on. As you can tell, I don't know them all, but they keep asking me to join.
That's all right, we don't know them either.
Yeah, Google Hangouts, I joined it once, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Thanks, guys.
They weren't talking numbers, so.
But like I said, we'll have to ramp up shortly here, as we've got a couple of projects that are going to require at least for three months they'll be on site here collaborating, and then they'll have to deploy off-site, going to the customers' sites.
And who are your major competitors?
I would say the short list would be CSC, Hitachi Consulting, PTC. Closer to our size would be Slalom, but they're a lot bigger than us. A local company would probably be Sea Glass, I think.
Okay.
So that ranges, but
Yeah, we run into even competing against Accenture and
Accenture.
Deloitte Consulting and PwC's consulting arms. We compete with them a lot. We actually, unfortunately, didn't get the job, but we were one of the 3 finalists to Accenture and Deloitte.
Okay.
We were told we came in second on the, we didn't get it, but if one of the company who did starts to fall behind, they would like to be able to engage with us. And naturally, we're okay with that.
Yeah.
We'd rather win, but it is what it is.
many times we don't win against them, but I, as nicely as possible, say, look, when they're blowing through all your money and you're not getting a result, as long as some is left, we can probably save you. Don't be embarrassed to call us. And it happens. We're different. We're nimble. We're fast. We bring results. If you're having any type of problem, you can call the owners. You're not getting some hiring manager at the regional desk that has to escalate it up through Accenture's giant hierarchy.
Yeah.
We'll get it done for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as you see, we have very limited overhead here. We have nothing fancy in our office, although we do have a lot of toys we haven't set up yet.
Yeah.
But there's nothing overly expensive. Matt and I are we're the guys working every day too. We don't, our space is
I'm
nice
just
and
awed
small.
by what you've done. I mean, I haven't been in the building before, but I know with most of these old buildings, I have been on the upper floors on a lot of them, and they're nothing like this. I mean,
Yeah.
you did a lot of work
Right,
here.
it really is
Christine.
We came in here,
A lot.
and Manny, our landlord from Protege Properties, he was like, whatever you want to do, and they were going to carpet it and put cubes in. I was like, no. They thought that's what
Oh,
they thought that's
yeah, but
they
that's-
thought that's
yeah.
what most corporate
I know,
software companies
I
would
know
want.
it.
And I was like, do not do anything to that floor but refinish it. Leave the beams sticking out, please. And he
Yeah,
was
leave
so
the brick.
he was so he was
Probably
so
made him
happy.
very
He was
happy,
so
yeah.
happy we wanted to
Yeah.
preserve the charm of the building.
Yeah. Oh, that's
And
nice.
it's really, it came out
It's
pretty
great.
nice, I think.
It is. It's just great. You never expect to see this, when you come in here.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot more. Everett's taken off.
I
think
know, Everett
Oh,
really
yeah, we're
is.
I'm happy to be
excited
one of the
about it.
first in here.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. That's what I felt. Yeah.
And you have, in addition to a great space, you have a great website as well.
Thanks.
And do you want to
Yes,
just...
you do.
Oh, sure, it's nowintelligence.com. Just
Okay.
spelled like
How
it
did you
sounds.
come up with that?
Oh, man,
How
when
did you come up with that?
NBI, it's like,
years ago, when I was getting fed up with the big consulting firms,
Yeah.
I decided I'm going to spin out and do it my way. And I had to do it all on the up and up. I had to talk to the firm's legal that I worked at, and I had to write out my non-solicit and figure all that out. And then the time came to spin out, and the first 3 letters of my last name, N-O-W.
Ah, okay.
Oh,
Yep.
great.
And it was Now Business Intelligence.
Okay.
And I don't, and I was like, I don't know if this company's going to take off or not. It was an experiment. And sure enough, it took off, and now we're Now
off.
Business Intelligence.
All right.
I mean, we do so much work with business intelligence and data analytics
Yeah.
and dashboards that, the name actually, it's
works.
nice in that sense, but on the other side, we do a
typecasts
lot
us a
of
little
custom
bit.
software solutions, and especially in the Microsoft suites, doing them with SharePoint and migration to the cloud and all that kind of work. When people say, no, well, you're a BI company, well, that's in our title, but
Right.
we do more than business intelligence.
Hey, just
Yeah.
be careful what you name your new
Obviously.
business.
Yeah. But we've got a foothold, and to change, especially with all our Department of Defense contractors, to change the name now would be ludicrous.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just to go backwards.
Well, it's a link to all of our NAICS codes and all of that stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Now, when you go into a client, do you mainly work with their IT department, or do you work with I imagine it's probably a combination of IT and then the
Yeah.
department that's having the problem that you want to solve? Is it
So it's a little of
like
both. We end
little
up
bit of
with
both?
the CIO or the director of IT at some point. It depends how we were brought in. If it's like an intro here's who we are, we'll usually meet like the CIO, and he'll put us in the pool of all the other groups. If someone's having a major issue, business problem, where they're hemorrhaging money or time, or something didn't work, or they used one of the competitors I mentioned and it didn't work, and they're really in big trouble, then it's usually we're pulled through the person
Yeah,
in
the
trouble.
business unit manager will be the one.
They found us like, this isn't working. My sales desk can't do their job. I'm losing sales like crazy. Then we'll usually say, look, here's how we can solve it for you, and we work through that way up. And then the CIO usually like, if these guys can do it, do it.
Yeah,
So it's
I
kind of
think
both.
The biggest hurdle we ever encounter seems to be procurement, because
Yes, I know.
we've got 100 vendors. Why do we need another one?
Right. Well, you've just been trying the 100 vendors for this whole time.
And what's nice is, especially when you get at some of the larger financial institutions, they're sticklers.
Yeah.
And to have a business unit manager who, is an executive director or managing partner or whatever title they have, to stand in front of procurement and say, no, you don't understand. The 100 we have can't do what I need them to do, and these
Right.
guys can. Because typically we've already proven a small aspect of the job to them, like, hey, here's what we can do for you. And we give them a demo of what it is, and that's how we get pulled through. But procurement can take a long time.
Yes.
And
yes.
a lot of the larger companies, you don't get fired for using Accenture, right?
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
scared.
yeah.
They don't. Who are you guys? How big are you? I mean, we have all the same insurance,
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
something did happen, it's never happened. It's not like they wouldn't be covered.
Right.
But it's still, sometimes it's a big leap for some of the larger companies to try us first. They usually come back and try us right after, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll give us a
Yeah.
small test to try it, which is nice. It's not the big project we went in for, but we made some sort of impression that they give us a smaller task. And thankfully, we've been in business for 7 years now without incident. So we're building history.
Yeah.
I think as soon as we hit the 10-year threshold, that'll make it a lot easier for us, because everyone looks at small companies, half of them dissolve in the first year, and then another half in the next 2 years. So the fact that we've
7
made
years
7
is
and we're growing.
a long
Well,
time.
much of my team has been with me for 15. They were with me at the other firm, and they came over here. So, I mean, technically we've been doing this for over 15 years, but as this named entity, 7.
All right.
Great place to have a celebration
Yes.
for
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh no, when
All right,
it was
I
like
great.
that idea.
We love coming in here, and we've got the big movie screen that we can put up as
The golf simulator.
what's-
eventually.
Oh, you don't?
Yeah, we have a golf simulator. We haven't put it up yet, but it's in the corner over there, unboxed. But
You got a lot of local breweries here. You can
Exactly.
party
I'm
at.
hoping to
and-
meet some of them. We've got to. I'm assuming Everett has some sort of business roundtable or something. I know we're part of the chamber. We haven't. We just joined, so we will
Yeah,
start
we've
attending some
had
of the chamber
exchanges
events.
sometimes, and even with other cities,
Oh, cool.
multi-chamber things and all, yeah.
yeah.
And how do you go about getting clients? Is it word of mouth? Is it?
It's been mostly word of mouth,
Okay.
but we are. This year is a new year for us.
Uh-huh.
We're actually actively pursuing leads and lead generation. It's kind of new for us. We always had our few big defense clients, and then word of mouth to the big financial ones. Now we've never had to hunt. We don't have to hunt, but we've decided we want
Yeah,
to.
with the defense spending in 2016 was a brutal year for defense spending. So we, at one point the defense was 90% of our business.
Okay.
Last year defense was only 50% of the business. So we've diversified. I'm hoping this year to maintain our defense income, but to make it closer to 25%,
Yeah.
just so that we can get more involved. Municipalities and state legislation have been very helpful for us. They need a lot of work, and we've been able to, like I said, once you get into one, you usually can get a referral to another, and we follow up with the leads.
Good.
Who knows, someday we'll do work for Everett, we'll see.
Yeah.
Besides, we are involved at Everett High School. We got involved at the STEM class, the STEM Academy. Miss Siders has been excellent for us. We've helped her with her 3D printing. We've sponsored a couple of their scientific projects that are going on for the science fair. We're getting involved with the Girls Who Code and with the STEAM Academy as far as mentors.
Great.
So it's really been exciting for us because the guys love to teach. The scientists love to teach. And I just make sure what we're doing is on the legal side of things. Because we were going to have an intern in, and I know the guidance department had a slight issue, so we've slowed that down. I think we'll end up hiring. We've met a few of the students at Everett High. There's some really talented.
Really
Oh, there
computer
really
software
are. I know
people
that
there.
at
And
District Yes,
we'd like
we
to start
have an
molding them.
intern who's been
Yeah.
working out really
Oh, yeah.
well. Yeah.
We'd like to mold them at this age so they don't get any
Yeah.
bad coding habits or anything. And then when they grow up, maybe they'll stay.
I mean, the kids just absorb this stuff like a sponge.
Yep.
They just
Yeah.
are so
Yeah, they do.
We helped
into
on
it,
the,
just so intuitive
interviews
with them.
this year too. They had the interview day, so we went in and helped with that.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, that
City
was
Hall
fun.
actually had a thing where they brought an outside firm in for opinions about Everett and things like that. We participated in. So we're trying to embrace Everett as much as Everett's embraced us. It's
Good.
been great.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great
Good.
city.
It is, yeah.
Well, thank you for being on.
Yeah, no,
our
thank
pleasure.
you.
This was great
Anytime.
today, really.
thanks for
And,
coming in.
It was the most enjoyable. It isn't even an interview today. We've had some real good conversation
Yeah.
going here, I think.
Yeah,
Very
we didn't-
comfortable.
No, it's fine.
And I
We
love
love
your
doing
place. I just love
Yeah, it
being in here.
really is a nice place.
Yeah. In spite
Welcome
of the
anytime.
stairs.
You can film anyone in here, except for those competitors. On there.
You're welcome here anytime.
Thank you so much.
We have had Everett Public Schools in, Mr. Forestier and Mr. Eric Nauman came in, and we had a whole entourage from Everett Public. It was great.
Oh,
The
did
guidance
you?
group
Yeah?
came in.
Yeah.
And then we did do
Good.
our ribbon cutting ceremony, so the mayor came in and
Yeah.
with his group. It's been It's been fun, and I did attend the city council, the election of the new president, and the state of the city address the mayor put on, so that we could.
That's good.
kind
The
of hear more
visibility
about
around
what's
the
going
city
on.
Well,
can mean a lot.
and we give back because we want to, and Everett is constantly giving back, and that's more of a community focus. When we were in Boston proper, and no offense to Boston proper, I love Boston,
Yeah,
but
we were
a company
downtown,
like,
so.
we're just a number, we're
I know,
noise. You know,
yeah.
nobody's going to come do a ribbon cutting. I don't even know what school I would go get involved in practically.
Right.
It's not the same here. It felt like
It's just
we
a community. It's a little community.
We became part of a family, and it's
Yeah.
just natural that we're sort of going.
You're a
back
big
and forth.
deal here.
Well, I'd be
That's
embarrassed
awesome.
to say that if I didn't mention a hello to Senator Saldi Domenico and to Representative Joe McGonigal and to Mr. Mayor Carlos.
Yeah, they've been wonderful.
great with us.
Yeah.
And we've actually been making some progress. We do work at the State House, and you know, at some point we'll have to tap on Joe and Sal's shoulder to say hello. But we just go in when we're in there doing our business. I always try and make sure to say hello to them while they're in their offices,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah. It's a great place to be, too, the State House.
Yeah,
Great
it's a-
place
Oh, yeah.
to visit.
Beautiful museum.
Isn't it?
If
Mm.
anyone gets a chance, and it's open to the public, the museum that's at the State House is amazing. And it's just the artwork, the tables, and everything else that's in there to learn some of the history. And we've created a self-guided tour for the State House. It's amazing.
It's not
Absolutely
out
amazing.
yet, so I was going to be more cryptic than that. I don't know if we can. Eventually, one of our
Okay,
apps will
good.
be very publicly facing in the State House. Something we wrote.
Oh, okay. Well, Rosemary's former husband worked at this
My
State
husband
House.
worked there for 36 years.
Oh my gosh!
We were
Wow.
doing research work, legislative. He was kind of the guy behind the scenes.
Everybody knew him.
That's what
Everybody
we are.
kept him there because he knew where all the bodies were buried.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
But so I'm very familiar with the State House, and when I worked at Pope John High School in development work, but I used to bring students in, and at that time the local state reps would, you know, be very receptive to them, give them a luncheon and all, and it was great. They learned a lot about their own history that
Yeah.
way,
Cool.
so it's good. So that I'm glad to hear you're, you know, working on something like that.
Yeah,
and,
it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's a fun one too.
Yeah, it's a
Yes.
lot of fun.
I can tell you when it's done. I can tell you all the cool technical hurdles we fixed, but I can't spoil. The CIO over there would not be happy if I did that.
Yeah. So thanks again for letting us come in and for appearing on our local and kudos to our
Yeah, thank
crew
you.
here,
Yeah,
who's
the film crew did a great
Ashley
job.
and Bob, because they and usually Matt's around too somewhere, but they are the ones who start the ball rolling, even with us.
Yes.
Great.
Yep.
We need that little push sometimes.
Oh, I
Say,
hear
"Are you
that."
ready to do another show?"
Yeah.
So this was a pleasure.
No,
Pleasure's
thank you.
ours.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we
Thank you.
really appreciate it. Thank you.